Drake's downfall has officially reached its darkest chapter, and this time there's no spinning it into a win. Multiple reports have surfaced confirming that the Toronto superstar is now facing devastating legal consequences. Not just over his ongoing battle surrounding Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us lawsuit, but over a series of high-profile investigations tied to fraud, contracts, and alleged financial misconduct. Insiders are saying that Drake has been found guilty of multiple infractions across several overlapping legal cases, forcing him to make one of the biggest decisions of his career, quitting music altogether to focus on surviving what may be the most brutal period of his life. What was once hip-hop's most powerful empire is collapsing under the weight of its own arrogance, and the world is watching the king of charts turn into a defendant in the court of law. The situation reportedly began spiraling after Drake decided to double down on his appeal against Kendrick Lamar's legal team. Instead of settling quietly, Drake's side allegedly filed another motion, challenging the results of the Not Like Us ruling that left him financially and publicly humiliated. The appeal backfired almost instantly. Court documents suggest that by reopening the case, Drake triggered new investigations into his business practices, particularly concerning his streaming revenues, his OVO label's accounting structure, and his partnership with gambling platform State. What started as a music lawsuit has now opened Pandora's box, a chain reaction that's exposing just how deep the dysfunction in his empire runs. The moment the news broke, social media went into chaos. Fans were stunned not just by the severity of the charges, but by how fast everything unraveled. 4 years, Drake projected an image of untouchable dominance. A man who could feud with anyone, manipulate the narrative, and always come out clean. But now, the narrative has flipped completely. His silence is no longer seen as confidence. It's fear. Every statement, every post, and every public appearance has been dissected as evidence of guilt. What's worse, insiders claim that even his legal team is divided over how to proceed, with some advising him to step away from music entirely to avoid further damage to his brand and finances. This isn't just about money. This is about legacy. Drake spent over a decade defining himself as the most successful artist of his generation, breaking streaming records, dominating charts, and building one of the most powerful brands in entertainment. But with each lawsuit, that legacy is being rewritten. The man who once bragged about being 10 steps ahead is now buried in paperwork, fighting for survival in courtrooms instead of studios. His lawyers have reportedly warned him that every move he makes publicly can now be used against him, forcing Drake to retreat completely from music-related ventures for the foreseeable future. And for an artist whose power relied on visibility, that retreat might be the final blow. The trouble doesn't stop with Kendrick Lamar. Drake's entanglement with the online gambling giant State has also drawn major scrutiny from regulators and investigators across multiple countries. Reports claim that the partnership, which once looked like a cutting-edge business move, has now become a legal minefield. Stake, a crypto-based betting platform known for its association with influencers and streamers, has been accused of operating in restricted territories and using celebrity endorsements to mask unethical financial practices. Drake's multi-million-dollar contract as Stake's global ambassador is now under fire, with prosecutors investigating whether his promotions violated gambling laws in several jurisdictions. Sources close to the case say that evidence has surfaced linking Drake's public appearances and live stream promotions to questionable offshore transactions. Moves that could potentially fall under fraud or tax evasion territory. Adding to the chaos, his relationship with streamer Aiden Ross, one of Stake's loudest public faces, has only made things worse. Aiden has been caught up in controversies of his own, and Drake's continued involvement in that circle has drawn unwanted attention from watchdog groups and financial regulators. Insiders claim that government agencies are now cross-referencing financial data between OVO Sound, Stake, and other affiliated companies to determine whether money was being laundered through sponsorship deals. The allegations haven't been officially proven yet, but the rumors alone have been enough to scare investors, freeze certain OVO business accounts, and send Drake's legal team into crisis mode. It's not just a scandal anymore. It's a full-blown collapse. The music industry is already reacting to the fallout. Multiple promoters and venues have reportedly suspended negotiations with OVO-related tours and festivals, fearing potential financial instability. Major streaming platforms once quick to celebrate his releases have gone silent. Even within his camp, cracks are forming. Artists under OVO's label are allegedly frustrated, fearing that Drake's legal issues will pull down their careers as well. Some have reportedly begun reaching out to other management companies in case OVO becomes untouchable. It's the kind of implosion that few could have predicted for someone who seemed invincible just a year ago. The public perception of Drake has shifted dramatically, too. What used to be admiration has turned into disbelief and mockery. Memes about his fall from grace dominate the internet, with fans pointing out the irony that a man who built an empire off control now seems completely out of it. Even his enemies, many of whom Drake mocked in the past, are quietly celebrating. People close to Kendrick Lamar's camp have allegedly described the mood as vindicated, saying that Drake's downfall feels like poetic justice after years of arrogance and manipulation. In their eyes, the same man who once tried to play puppet master with rap's biggest stars is now tangled in his own strings. But the real damage isn't just to Drake's image. It's to his psyche. Those close to him describe him as exhausted, paranoid, and withdrawn. Reportedly spending most of his time consulting lawyers and financial advisors instead of recording music. The weight of these legal battles is reportedly crushing, and the realization that his empire may be built on shaky foundations is starting to sink in. For an artist who prided himself on control, this loss of power may be the most devastating punishment of all. If the lawsuits weren't enough, Drake's reputation in the entertainment industry is now being openly questioned. Executives, producers, and collaborators who once sang his praises are reportedly distancing themselves from his brand. Sources from inside major labels claim that meetings once centered around how to work with Drake have now shifted to how to avoid the fallout. His brand deals from Nike's Narkta line to beverage and lifestyle endorsements are reportedly under internal review. Some partners have already begun removing his name from future campaigns. It's not because they've confirmed guilt. It's because association with Drake has become risky. Every headline tied to him reads like a scandal waiting to explode. And in an industry that runs on perception, that's a death sentence. Drake's decision to appeal the Not Like Us lawsuit seems to have triggered this avalanche. The appeal reintroduced evidence that allegedly contradicted statements made by his own team during the initial case, raising questions about potential perjury or procedural misconduct. The court reportedly ordered new audits of OVO's finances, including royalties, merchandise revenue, and streaming royalties across multiple territories. What they found, or what's rumored to have been found, could explain why everything is unraveling so quickly. Anonymous insiders claimed that investigators uncovered irregularities in OVO's revenue reports that may point to systemic manipulation of digital data. That could mean fake streams, false revenue declarations, or even fraudulently reported royalties. If those findings are true, Drake's empire could be facing federal-level investigations, not just lawsuits. Meanwhile, fans are piecing together the puzzle in real time. Old interviews, lyrics, and even concert footage are being re-examined for signs of guilt or confession. Clips of Drake bragging about never losing or outsmarting the system have resurfaced, now viewed as arrogance instead of confidence. For a generation that once saw him as untouchable, the narrative shift is shocking. The hashtag #DrakeExposed has trended repeatedly as fans share their disbelief over how far he's fallen. Every news update, every court leak, every insider comment adds another layer to a story that feels less like celebrity drama and more like the collapse of a dynasty. In the midst of this chaos, reports claim Drake privately told his team he's stepping away from music indefinitely. The statement wasn't public, but insiders confirmed that several recording sessions and collaborations have been cancelled without explanation. His last appearance in the studio reportedly ended abruptly after what one source described as a breakdown. Drake allegedly told those around him he needed to focus on surviving before creating. It's a haunting admission from a man who once prided himself on being unstoppable. For the first time in his career, the machine has stopped. The music, the tours, the constant motion, all of it has come to a standstill. The fallout from Drake's retreat is already reshaping the music landscape. With his absence, a power vacuum has opened at the top of the industry. Artists who once competed in his shadow are now stepping into the spotlight, defining a new era without him. Kendrick Lamar, still basking in the glory of his victory, has become the new benchmark for authenticity and influence. J. Cole, Doja, and even rising artists like Lil Baby and Ice Spice are now positioned to dominate a space that Drake once monopolized. Industry experts are calling this the post-Drake era, a time when the formula he perfected no longer works. His retreat has forced the culture to move on without him, and the transition has been swift. What's more, his label, OVO Sound, is showing signs of implosion. Several insiders claim that the label's infrastructure is falling apart under financial pressure. Artists are allegedly considering leaving due to unpaid advances and stalled releases. The empire that once symbolized success now looks like a cautionary tale. Even OVO Fest, Drake's signature music festival, has reportedly been shelved indefinitely. Sponsors have backed out, insurance companies have raised premiums, and the city of Toronto, once proud to be his global headquarters, is quietly distancing itself from the controversy. Local officials who once praised Drake for putting the city on the map are now declining to comment. It's a total collapse of reputation, influence, and identity. Meanwhile, fans are mourning in real time. Many who grew up with Drake's music feel conflicted, disappointed by the scandals, but nostalgic for the artist who once defined their youth. His older songs have seen a temporary spike in streams as fans revisit the era before the chaos. But even those numbers are being viewed skeptically given the fake stream allegations. Every statistic, every success, every record is now being questioned. The trust is broken and rebuilding it may be impossible. What's particularly tragic about this entire saga is how preventable it all seemed. Drake's downfall didn't happen overnight. It was years in the making. From the ghostwriting controversies to the endless beefs and questionable business decisions, there were always warning signs. But instead of slowing down, he doubled down, chasing bigger numbers, bigger deals, and bigger risks. Now, those same ambitions have trapped him. The lawsuits, the investigations, the appeals, all of it points to a man who couldn't let go of control until it destroyed him. In a genre built on ego, Drake's greatest weakness might have been his inability to admit he was human. As things stand now, Drake's legal future looks uncertain, and his musical future looks non-existent. The artist who once ruled streaming platforms has been reduced to silence, both by choice and necessity. Reports suggest that his team is negotiating multiple settlements to avoid further criminal exposure, but those settlements come with staggering costs financially and reputationally. If he accepts full liability, Drake could lose millions in restitution and royalties. If he fights it, he risks federal prosecution. Either way, the empire he built over the last decade won't survive intact. The OVO brand, once synonymous with success, is now synonymous with scandal. The irony is that Drake once prided himself on being self-made, the underdog who became the world's biggest star. But now that image has crumbled under the weight of greed and deception. The same industry that celebrated his dominance is now picking apart his downfall, using him as a cautionary example of how unchecked power can implode. His enemies are vindicated, his peers are silent, and his fans are heartbroken. It's the kind of fall from grace that hip-hop hasn't seen since the biggest scandals of its golden era. Except this one's playing out in real time across courtrooms, live streams, and social media. At this point, the only thing certain is that Drake's focus is no longer on music. Insiders say that he's relocated temporarily, cutting ties with several key business partners, and withdrawing from public appearances. His once busy calendar is reportedly empty, his tour plans scrapped, and his studio access restricted to protect evidence in the ongoing cases. The man who was everywhere is nowhere, trapped in legal battles that could take years to resolve. Some insiders speculate that even if Drake wanted to return to music, the stigma of these scandals would make it impossible to regain his status. The industry has already moved on and the culture with it. This isn't just the end of a career. It's the unraveling of an entire era. Drake's dominance defined a generation, but his downfall is redefining what it means to be untouchable in the modern world. Fame, fortune, and followers couldn't save him from accountability. And as more details continue to emerge, one thing becomes clear. The empire didn't collapse because someone took it from him. It collapsed because it was built on instability all along. And that's the full story behind Drake being confirmed guilty, quitting music, and watching his empire crumble under the weight of lawsuits and exposure. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more deep dives into the biggest stories shaking up hip-hop and celebrity culture today.